Very nice to meet you. My name's Rihanna.
Hi, I'm Rob or Delta. You can call me any way you want.
Delta, I'll go Delta, seeing as we're doing all that. But yeah, it's really nice to meet you. So I just wanted to start off talking about your EP actually. Um, how would you describe the concept of your like newest EP, Into the Rabbit Hole?
Okay, so let's straight into it.
Straight into it.
Yeah, I mean, as a name and as a title, it's influenced by Alice in Wonderland. It's a
I was
clear
thinking that.
and because and it was a name because it was my first sort of EP, and it was very much about creating characters for the different songs and the different stages you go as a person sort of discover who you really are, which I think is the same sort of metaphor in the book as well. So starting with Hot Gun all the way into, the depth of like hello and strange and the different phases you go into your life until you realize who you are, which
That's
is
so interesting.
yeah, and it's funny because it was so we always knew that the single that's coming out now, Happy Out of Love, would be the next single.
Mm.
Sort of a way to go through all of that to arrive where we are now. I don't know if you've listened to the new track, but it's
I did have a little listen.
okay.
I
So
did quite, I was really enjoyable actually. I was like listening to everything today as I just like checked myself. And it's like I feel like it really does match the vibe of Alice in Wonderland, if you get what I mean. Very eccentric almost. And I think that's sort of what you're going for.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But it's sort of getting out of the tunnel because there are quite a few dark songs in the EP and sort of going through. And I love the metaphor going into the rabbit hole because I think
Mm,
how life can be many times you have to go through that, dark period or that tunnel to go through the other end. Where
absolutely.
yeah, it's different
Definitely.
and glowy. Yeah.
Definitely. Do you feel that it was a hard thing to write? Like, were any of the songs particularly more difficult than the others?
I mean, for the EP, yes, actually, because I wrote most of them actually during quarantine and COVID. And
Oh,
it's
yes.
funny because, yeah, I mean, with artists, when they put music out, usually it's where they were like 2 years ago
Mm,
because they have to write the songs and record them and then put them out. So, yes, I think it didn't represent the state that I was at the time the EP came out. So it was more about that dark sort of phase, being isolated from everything and being very introspective as well, which can be
yes.
a very difficult thing. And actually, I wrote "Happy of Love" after the lockdown sort of ended, like early 22, like a year and a half ago. I wrote it, which is funny because it has this very positive and bright, like dancey.
Yeah.
We're all happy, we're out and about.
Everyone was free.
Exactly. Finally.
Yeah. So I get that it was like into the rabbit hole, but almost in the way that how you went through that whole process during that whole COVID period and everything. Because I feel like that's how everyone was really feeling, isn't it? You're sort of suddenly so isolated from everyone that you know and everything. And there's no
Yeah.
light at the end of the hole or something like that.
And it's funny because now, I mean, it's not that long ago, but it feels like a different parallel universe. Like I can't imagine us. It was in Greece, so I was in Greece at the time, and we had to text the government. Oh, I need to go out like for to walk my dog.
Oh wow.
And if you want to go to the supermarket, it's like a text number 6. And the police would like stop you on the street and ask, "Where is the text?" And like, oh shit.
That's mad. Our COVID rules are honestly not that good. They sort of just like were like wasn't very good. No, that's really interesting though, and I think it really comes through. I was like listening to Punching Bag and it was quite heartfelt. And were there any sort of like probably a lot of personal implications from that song, perhaps?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the most personal song alongside Strange on the EP. And it's about trying to keep a relationship going that like
Mm,
that you can't and it should end, but you also don't want it to end. Um, yeah, so it's I think the only song out of except Strange on the EP that's about a relationship and about first person, about an actual experience and not, you know, hiding away behind a persona or behind
mm.
messages. It's actually very direct about what actually happened. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I really get that vibe from it as it is. So if you had to like describe your sort of genre of music, where would you place it? It's a really hard question because obviously I find that artists can't actually place themselves within one genre and they often make themselves like go through many different. So it's really
Yeah.
hard to sort of generalize yourself in that sense. But you have to choose a couple.
I think, I mean, it has changed. So I'd say the span is from rock all the way to pop.
Mm.
So I haven't yet, and I don't know if I'll ever do any like metal. I just don't personally, I don't find it that like interesting. I love disco though. I love maybe in the future I would do that. But I think now I'd say Brit pop slash rock indie,
Mm.
like the vibe overall. Because also within songs, I I find myself finding it hard to sort of stick to one thing. So even for Happy Out of Love, it's a pop song with West End influences because I used to go and watch Mamma Mia with my
Oh,
time.
that's so cool.
Yeah. And I just I love the feeling of the chorus when everyone comes together in a musical, and you know it's so uplifting. So that's the sort of feeling I wanted to have in the chorus, which is why I have 50 backing vocals kicking in.
Absolutely.
In the middle eight, it's a very disco vibe. It just changes completely. It just becomes something very different. Uh, but I find it interesting because I think what's different now in music is that we're not as, you know, genre fixated.
Mm.
Whereas before, if you're an artist in the 80s or 70s, you had to be one thing and
Yes.
deviate. Maybe, I mean, Queen did, but they did it between albums. Whereas
Yes.
now, I find artists that the song starts a certain way, or like Billie Eilish's Happier Than Ever.
Absolutely, yes.
It changes throughout so much, and it's so nice. It starts a certain way, but then it ends somewhere else. And the same, you know, it's so nice because I don't think that people care as much now about genres as much as they used to. And
I
that's
do feel like the same in terms of genres. They used to be also quite political as well, so it's also linked in with that. So there's so many more ties now, and I just don't feel like it's the same nowadays. So definitely, there's
exactly,
more sort of freedom in the way that you can process through different songs, and it's not stuck by albums as it is.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
interesting. But I know that you have a background in sort of classical sort of music from when you were younger. Have you been able to sort of incorporate that background into your more current songs? Or is it something that's sort of like taking a step back?
I think um I I find myself using different elements of classical music, which helps in pop because if you've never played classical music, then you would very much follow what has been done before, like very much
Mm.
Elton John or even like Tom Odell. Now I absolutely love. He's a brilliant. Uh, Even Tom Odell is classically trained because you can tell from the way he's playing, and even I
Yes.
think he did. I think it was Glastonbury, if I'm not mistaken. He did Fur Elise, and then
Okay,
he
yeah.
jumped to Another Love from that, which was
Yeah.
uh,
Amazing.
so I find myself yes increasingly incorporating elements, but I'd say not as much as I'd expect. Yeah,
Definitely, definitely. Because I do feel like you have a more heavy vibe and sort of very heavy like instrumentals like with the guitar and everything. And I know I think it was 2021 you released Hypocrites, and I do feel like
yeah.
that was quite a change in like compared to the background of that. It's very cool though. But you've named a lot of different artists. Who would you say are like your main sort of inspirations in terms of your music?
Um, I think overall, as a sort of decade, I'd say that the 70s overall has left an
Yeah.
imprint because, and I think I find it interesting because usually you start as an artist now listening to contemporary music. So like what's happening now. So I don't like Coldplay and whatever, like
Yeah.
you're growing up to, and then you start going back and you discover other artists. So when I discovered Queen and David Bowie and Pink Floyd, I just what I loved about it was that there were people clearly you could hear in a room playing together.
Yes.
There were so many embellishments in the production as well, and you know so much creativity that went into it. Which I mean, there's not to say. still, so for instance, Billie Eilish's album, When We Fall Asleep Where Do We Go, I also
Mm,
finished it an amazing production on, because there's so many creative elements to support that. It was a very different thing, which I loved. But now I find that with many songs that are currently pop and the
mm,
newly Radio One vibe, they have a very particular sound, which I
yes.
find as exciting as, as stuff that happened then. So, and it's interesting because also many people haven't listened to that music
Mm.
as much. And I used, for instance, early Pink Floyd backing vocal reference on Strange. So like a spooky, doing like a melody, a kind of
Very
melody.
mystical almost vibe that you're going for.
Exactly, exactly. And people are like, "Oh, that's so amazing, so creative." I'm like, yeah. I mean, I'm just reinterpreting what had been.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Because the
such a
70s was such like a very like wild genre in itself, like if you had to go for the whole decade, and artists were very innovative back then. And I feel like also a lot of your personal style as well comes, I feel like it's sort of inspired from that as well, because it's very out there, very, like creative.
yeah, yeah, and it's funny because when I sort of started experimenting with dressing up in different clothes and makeup, it was back in 2020. I went with a friend who's a photographer in Athens, and we went into the studio. No one had any work, so anyone
Mm.
creative had plenty of free time. So we might as well go in and try
As
stuff.
well.
Exactly. So we went in, and I remember, so there was this stylist, and she would ask me, "So would you wear heels?" And I'd say yes. And I thought, to the extent that I thought that she was testing me, and I wouldn't say no to anything. So, and when we did the photo shoot, I loved the pictures and how, amazing it looked. So I started not perceiving it as myself, but more,
Yeah.
if I was watching this as an art form, or as like as a movie, or like a picture, the colors blending,
Yes.
everything aesthetically just
Yeah.
felt so good. So, and then I saw, so when we did that, then I saw Harry Styles at the Vogue thing. Then
Yeah.
he went to the vision and did like the heels. So I think there was something sort of in the, I don't know, in the air, sort of hinting that that was the direction that people would go to. Because I think
Yes.
many artists now have this, even Harry Styles has a 70s influence in his music as well, as much as the styling. Yeah.
I feel like pop nowadays is also going down the more like flamboyant route, because all of the artists is all about being more than it, like it's like not that they weren't like that before, but it's going a different route. I just think like obviously Harry Styles, I do think like Charlie XCX, they're all very,
Yeah.
very flamboyant, and also I think it's to do with the stage presence as well. And for you, when you're on stage, do you enjoy really playing into that sort of persona
Yeah.
almost?
100%, because it's funny. So when you're about to go out and you dress really nicely and you
Yeah.
feel confident because you see yourself and you're like, oh, like I look amazing tonight. It's gonna, so that helps everything about you. If when you go out, you just feel good with yourself.
Yeah.
So the same sort of thing happens. So when you dress in a way that looks cool in the mirror, you look before you go on stage, you're like, oh, I look like a rock star, or I look like, such
Yes.
icon. And that really helps when you're on stage, sort of amplify the performance. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because there was, I think in the 2010s, like 10 years ago, many artists didn't dress. So I think the vibe was Ed Sheeran, like normal clothes, we will dress down. And
Yes.
no one did actually, I think 10 years ago, anything that was out there and anything that was, flamboyant. But now I think because many people did that, only Lady Gaga, okay, but again, she was, I think, a bit before that. But then again,
Yeah.
Lady Gaga started off very flamboyant and she went onto her normal self and doesn't dress up anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and I just find it very, very interesting now that this is resurfacing. Yeah, you're right.
Definitely. And I think with like fashion as well, like the 70s and 80s have all come back in again, as they always do. And
Yeah.
so it's sort of reflecting sort of the music culture of the time as well, which is
Yeah.
really exciting. Because personally, I really love the 70s and 80s because I think it was just a really exciting type of music. Definitely. Yeah. So in terms of any gigs, because obviously during COVID, that obviously was put to a stop.
Yeah.
But are there any sort of hopes that you have for any future gigs in the works?
Oh yes. So we have a tour coming up for Scouting for Girls.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
So that's starting next Friday on November 3rd. And we're going around the UK with them for 2 weeks, which is going to be super exciting.
Mm,
And then closing with a headline show in London on the 24th of November. And then
brilliant.
tour of Greece. And then that's it for this year, I think. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Just go around the UK and Greece.
Exactly.
That's so exciting. I think London is just always going to be such a vibrant place to play in. And, I think you moved to London, you live there
I live
now.
there. Yes. I live east, yeah, in Old Street.
So how does that mean to you being able to finish off a headliner tour with Scouting for Girls? Because obviously they're a very prominent band. They're part of my childhood, so it must be quite a moment for you.
Yeah, it was. So to be absolutely honest, because I grew up, so my mom is from Manchester, but I grew up in Athens. So to be absolutely honest, I hadn't heard them before.
Mm,
And out, Richard, who we work with from the label in the UK, he said, I think there would be an amazing band to try and support. And then I listened to I love the songs, but it was just it sounds like a very late 2000s vibe for me
yes.
was going around the time. And yeah, I mean, they're brilliant. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity because I also feel that Happy Out of Love and With the Strange, we are not that different as a vibe. So I think
Mm,
it's going to work really well for supporting
definitely.
relevant
Yeah.
of the crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's also important for you to be like distinguishable from them. And I think your music is obviously it's still the same vibe, but very different in the way that you perform it and everything. And I think that's going to be really exciting to new audiences, obviously, because you're making such an impression on them. Because, yeah, very, very cool. Are you playing in Manchester at any point?
Yes. Yes, we are. So we are, let me just check the date. It's on the 8th of November. And
Oh,
so if you want, I know this is recorded live, but you can send them a message, put you on the guest list. If
absolutely.
you're down.
I'd be so down for that. I'd be so down for that because I'd really love to see both of you guys live. That'd be incredible.
Yeah.
No, that's so exciting in Manchester. I find it's a very, very vibrant music scene here. Obviously, it's incredible, like the stuff that goes on here, especially with smaller artists. And I feel like it's such a good place to also perform.
Yeah, I agree. And so my mom is from Manchester, from
Mm,
South, and I used to go there when I was little, but now because I never find a reason, an opportunity to sort of go there.
yeah.
And it's so nice now that we have this gig, and I'm also so family's gonna come around. I haven't seen
Oh,
it. Very sentimental gig. Yeah.
that'll be really, really sweet. That's a really important one. Obviously, because with your heritage and everything, you've got your Greek heritage, and then you've also got your mum who lived in Manchester. So it's sort of everything coming together almost because you're going to be playing in Greece after,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
amazing. Do you think that you're like almost growing up in like Greece that's had major effects on your music, or is it?
I think yes, but in the way that there isn't such a big scene in Greece with artists playing sort of uh English speaking, Brit pop music.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, good in a way because I wasn't influenced by anyone. It's as if I was isolated and
Mm,
was writing on my own without knowing what everyone else was doing. And that helped sort of carve a more unique path because if I was here, and now that I am here, I see this a lot, and I see all of these bands with backing tracks, super polished, and you hear songs that are really well crafted. But to me, many songs that I hear nowadays sound very similar to each other, like melodically and everything. And I
mm,
think maybe it's the entire scene that people influence each other so much that maybe that's why, it sounds like that. Whereas in Greece, there are very few artists, and we all sound very different to each other because we didn't know each other existed until, we released a record or an EP or an album.
yeah.
And then you get to know each other, but you've already sort of started on your own. And there isn't a scene where you meet people beforehand. So if this makes
Mm,
sense. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I think it's more unique. But on the other hand, I mean, songs here, like people write really good tunes here as well.
They do, they do.
So yeah, and it's funny because I thought, it's the same feeling I was describing this to a friend from Greece. How do you feel now that you're in the UK? And it's like, you remember when you were in school and you like finish, one grade, like, and then you go like, I
Mm.
in the UK. What are the tiers like?
It's like year groups, so you have like literally high school and then you go sixth form and then before high school it's like primary school.
So when you finish primary school, you're like the big kid, and you start high school, and you're again the smallest one, and then
Yeah, and then you build your way up.
you go up, and then again, like at university, you're like the smallest one again.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
same
building
kind of
my way up
feeling.
again.
Thank you. So when I came to London now, it's as if, okay, I was like finishing high school in Greece, and I came
Mm,
back again, and I'm just starting, musically, from scratch, because
yeah,
I was playing in the bigger venues in Athens, on the radio in Greece. I was on TV, so like I felt
yes.
like we had done some headway nets again. Okay, like starting again now, great, but it's amazing.
Yeah, that must be quite exciting though to almost be able to start over again because you made your way in Athens and then now it's just a whole new pool of like musicians and people and venues and everything.
Exactly. And I think because here, I mean, the music industry is so vibrant, just there are so many super talented people, like
Yes,
everywhere you look. And I go to gigs, and because what I love about the London especially, I don't know if they do this in other cities, but they line up one night with 4 or 5 bands. They play half an hour each, and you get to meet each other. You blend with each other as fans. So that's so nice because you get to listen to so much music that's very different and meet
absolutely.
artists. Yeah.
Yeah, especially because there's so many venues like big and small, and I think that makes such a difference in like the music scene, being able to have places for people on all levels to play instead of
It's
just big arenas.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Wow, that's so cool. I hope you have a really good time on your tour. And
Great,
just
great.
want to know now, one last question. What do you think is in the future now for Delta? Where do you see yourself going?
So,
Big question, but
where do you see yourself in 10 years? Yeah.
in ter I don't know myself.
So now so we have some songs that we recorded with Happy Love Love back in the summer in June. And I actually spent most of the summer writing music because uh, for 2024, I'm hoping to release an album out. So, which I've been writing loads of music. I actually just submitted yesterday uh,
Ooh,
my producers. I'm waiting to hear back. And
that's so exciting.
yeah, we're going to release a first album next year. Yeah, my debut album. So
Wow.
I think yeah.
That is quite a moment. Your family must be so proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's funny. They still don't see it as a real job, I think now, because some of them are going to come and be convinced that, I'm just not just messing around. Yeah,
You were just like that guy in the family who was just sort of doing something.
exactly.
No, but now the something is something. It's definitely something because I mean you're doing this tour right now. You're going on to play in Greece, and an album that's coming out soon. So definitely we'll be hearing from you more for
Yeah,
sure. No, but it's been really lovely talking to you. This has been a really nice interview.
same, same. Thank you very much, Rihanna.
Thank you so much for talking to me and really nice to meet you. Bye.